we got a lot from Ben Johnson, from updates on Braxton Jones and Jaquan Brisker to Ben Johnson's plans to quote-unquote fix Caleb Williams to even some of the draft. We got a lot from Ben Johnson, as well as Kevin Warren and the stadium update from him as well. We're going to talk about it all and more on today's Chicago Bears Central.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. So we did recently get an update from Braxton Jones himself where he posted that he was no longer in the walking boot, which was a really good one. But Ben Johnson is now talking openly about both him and Jaquan Brisker and where they state saying this. I think he's right on track. Will that mean he's limited in training camp? I would say probably at this point, but I think the progress is right where it needs to be for now. Now, this is a big season for Braxton Jones. We've talked a lot about it. Everybody kind of knows about it. Outside of what the Bears do at tackle in this draft or not, Braxton Jones is heading into the last year of his rookie scale deal, which means that the Bears are going to have to make a decision on the long-term implications of what Braxton Jones can and will be for the Chicago Bears team. And so because of that, this is an important training camp for Braxton Jones. Will he be limited in training camp? Yeah, all signs point to that. And will there be some competition there for Braxton Jones? Yeah, all signs point to that as well. But Braxton Jones understands how much solid tackles can get paid in this NFL. On top of, with the improvements to the Bears' overall offensive line, this is a time for him to really stand out and show what he can bring. And if he's gotten over that bull rush, even if he can't handle the bull rush, how well is he in a lot of other things and aspects of the game of football for the Chicago Bears? But Braxton, this is an important season for Braxton. And even if the Bears do find a new starting left tackle to replace Braxton Jones in that, Braxton still is going to have to show out in this time, in his snaps, being a depth piece for the Chicago Bears, of maybe having a future here or auditioning for a next team. This is a big season for Braxton. So hearing from Ben Johnson that Braxton Jones is on pace, he's on schedule, but they do expect him to be limited at training camp. Kind of all plays into what we've already expected when it comes down to that. Now, for who's going to replace Braxton Jones, if that's the case, that's left up in the air on what the Bears do, right? I do think that Josh Simmons is more on the Bears' radar than some people are giving it credit for. But, of course, you guys got like Will Campbell at number 10 potentially for that if he's there, things like that. But, we'll see. As we get closer to the draft, maybe we'll have that picture more crystallized and we'll start figuring out what's going to happen there. But at least that's the way things are pointing to right now. Well, Ben Johnson, as far as an update to Jaquan Brisker as well, saying that as far as he knows, Jaquan Brisker is medically cleared to return to football. This is the first update that we've gotten on that. Of course, you would hope that with him suffering the injury, what was it, in week 5, that he would be back cleared, ready to go by now. But this is kind of the first indication that we've gotten from Ben Johnson that it is clear, it is good to go. And we know what Jaquan Brisker can be, but he is in a similar situation as Braxton, right? Of course, his are more injuries than his performance on the field. We know what Jaquan Brisker can be when he's on the field, but it's his question on how often he's going to be able to be on that field. And he was ascending to being one of the best safeties in the NFL. I don't think that's outside or a crazy thing to state when it comes to Jaquan Brisker. He can be one of the best safeties in the game of football. He just has to stay healthy. And it's not his fault, right? I think even the most recent concussion that he had, it wasn't like he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do. It's unfortunate when a player's body doesn't hold up and fails them. But I think when you look at that, this is another important season for Jaquan Brisker and what's going to happen for him because, hey, the Bears right now, they could draft a safety, and that safety could be somebody who's going to play with him long term, or it could be somebody that could eventually replace him. And that's just the unfortunate nature of the game of football and when you're not able to stay healthy. So, hats off to Jaquan. I hope that Jaquan has a very, very healthy year here for the Chicago Bears. And he's ready to go. And he locks in, right? And if Jaquan can stay healthy and that question about his health can be eliminated, that does so much for the Chicago Bears because that eliminates a position that the Bears have to worry about. But the Bears are showing, like, I think them having some concern over Jaquan Brisker's next contract is legitimate, right? You don't want to lock him in too early if you don't think he can stay healthy. And it may be a situation where Jaquan doesn't get an extension. It may go to the offseason, and we'll see what the Bears do there. Jaquan is somebody that I do think, especially with the injury concerns, that if you do need to use a franchise tag on, I think he's a good candidate for that. I mean, from what we've heard, Jaquan Brisker, he loves it in Chicago, right? And I think this new coaching staff, his whole style, his whole mentality, all that is going to be something that Dennis Allen and these defensive coaches could potentially love, but he has to be able to stay healthy and stay out on the football field. So Ben Johnson providing some really good injury updates to those guys, things that we needed to hear, things that I think is really good to hear, and that we just got to hope that it continues ascending and going in the right way, right? And that's overall the most important thing there, right? But to stay on, before we get into draft content, Ben Johnson also talked about Caleb Williams, and this is going to be the one that a lot of people are interested in, right? He said this: there are some things that we're going to encourage that he looks to do a little bit differently. He's been predominantly a shotgun quarterback for most of his high school and college career, and so he's very comfortable there. We're going to work to see comfort level under center and how much of that applies. Listen, you are speaking to Chicago Bears Central and what we've been talking about since Fields. Get these guys under center a little bit more, right? Now, you have to have the right line to do that. You have to be respectable in both the pass game and in the running game to really do that enough. And I think that that's a good thing that Ben Johnson is coming in already ready to challenge Caleb Williams. You have to, again, be forced to be in uncomfortable situations if you really want to grow. That's why it's called growing pains. And hearing this from Ben Johnson is music to my ears, right? He also says this: there's a degree of Caleb being challenged a little bit more, I think. Outside of his comfort zone, I do think he needs to be a healthy dialogue between both of us, regardless of his experience level. I need to know what he feels really good about, particularly on game day. So again, not saying that we're just going to come in and make Caleb change these things because we want him to change them. We want him to be involved in that. What are you comfortable with? Let's check in. You're more under center. How are you feeling about under center? What are you seeing out there? Do we need to go back more to shotgun, right? Those type of things. And this is what is such a creative mind about Ben Johnson, right? When we hear things like Ben Johnson is going to build the system based off the skill set and the strengths of the players that are here, rather than try to come up with the cookie cutter system that you just throw out there and hope players are going to fit in. That's what's going to make this offense potentially, when you got guys like Eric Bieniemy, when you got guys like Declan Doyle, when you got Ben Johnson running the whole thing, that's what you want. Complete and utter synergy at all levels and having a thought process on getting to the next level, right? And so that's a really good thing. Like, I love what we're doing here, right? And so you want to challenge Caleb. If Caleb is this guy that we've all heard that he wants to be, hell, fuck what you or us view him as. What has he said he wants to be in this league? And if you're taking that into consideration on what Caleb has said he wants to be in this league, you got to challenge him. You cannot let him rest on his laurels. You cannot let him rest on just getting by on things like that. So I think overall, this is a really, really good, just complete thing of how everything's shaping up from top to bottom. You're having synergy and all over the place, and you love to see that, right? And even when we're hearing Ben Johnson talk about Eric Bieniemy as well, right? You know, talking about what Eric Bieniemy's job is going to be, saying this: he's going to coach the piss out of these running backs now. Like, Ben, I love hearing and seeing Ben Johnson talk because he brings, like, you know, there was some doubt, like, is Ben Johnson going to be able to be that leader of men in the locker room? And I'll tell you what, through the little bit that we've seen so far, we won't know for sure until he's a head coach leading a team and what happens there. But hearing him say he's going to coach the piss out of those running backs, that's what he does. Everybody that texted me after we hired him, I had probably half a dozen people that have worked with him in the past, and they said, you just hired the best running backs coach in the NFL. Confidence, right? A clear and utter outline. You know that, and again, running backs are very important to what Ben Johnson's trying to do here in Chicago. That's why you hear so many things about Ben Johnson potentially drafting a running back early in this draft and things like that. Like, it's important to Ben Johnson's system. Hell, it's important to football overall. Fuck the system, right? It's important to NFL if you're going to have a balanced team to be able to be, you got to be solid on the ground and in the air. And so it's really good to hear these things. The Bears got to continue to build out on that, and things are looking really freaking good. Now, before we get into Ben Johnson's comments on the draft, I want to talk about Kyler Gordon, right? And Ryan Poles said this via Courtney Cronin said this. As far as Kyler Gordon's contract extension, this will still be a priority. For me, in our exit meetings at the end of last season, I told all the guys in terms of future, if it was contracts coming back, anything like that, the important thing is I've got to get with our new coaching staff and kind of see the different players fit based on the scheme. We've been able to have those conversations, and I know Kyler is a guy that we want to be part of this thing moving forward. So the timing of that, I'm not sure how that all is going to work out, but that is a priority. Listen, yes, Dennis Allen is going to love the versatility that Kyler Gordon is going to bring here, especially with him, like us, probably going to be running a lot of 2 linebacker sets. So because of that, man, it's going to be a really important and special thing to watch out here for. Kyler Gordon is a special talent. I think Kyler Gordon can be one of the best nickels in the game of football. And so because of that, how Dennis Allen's going to use that aggressive style that Dennis Allen likes to, we could potentially see one of the best seasons that we've seen from a cornerback in a while, right? As far as the versatility is how he's going to be used. Coverage, run blitzing, pass blitzing, right? All those type of things. He's going to be used in all those ways and areas. And so because of that, like, you're going to want to probably get him locked in before he has a chance to really have, I won't call it a breakout season, but a big statistical year this year, because Kyler can have that. And he's made more than enough case for a contract extension with the Chicago Bears. That's not the question here. The number, we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. But Kyler Gordon being a Bear long-term, I don't think there's really any doubt about that. Of course, there's always that chance that they go to the table and the negotiating table and things don't work out. There's always a chance of that. But I think we'll see overall what comes of that, right? But hearing that Ryan Poles is calling Kyler Gordon a priority, right, to get drafted here, and a guy that they absolutely know that they want to be here, good, man. Have that vision for him, and let's keep it pushing. Let's see what's going to be at that point in time. But overall, all this from Ben Johnson and even Ryan Poles, this organization seems like right now. And I'm only saying seems like because, again, as I've said many times, I have to see what it's going to be on the football field. But outside of that, they are seemingly doing all the things that look like an organization that everybody is on the same page. From the players to the coaching staff to the front office, everything, and to the CEO and Kevin Warren, everything seems to be in alignment of exactly what they want to do and how they want this football team to operate, the type of players that they want, and the type of style that they want as well, and getting players that fit that style. And the draft is going to be one of the things that kind of bring all that together, right? Because now if you go out and get players that are going to be the future of your team, right, going to be here for the rookie contracts, and they start also adding into that identity as we go down the line, that's huge, right? And so everything right now, the way that it's shaping up for the Chicago Bears, the Bears seem like an organization that really organizationally have gotten their shit together. Now, let's hope that results in wins on the football field so we can talk about having our shit together there and competing in this NFC North, right? But with that said, Ben Johnson also talked a little bit about the draft. He said this, in regards to at number 10, we feel like there are going to be a lot of good players available with the number 10 pick. And honestly, right now, I couldn't tell you if it's going to be offense, if it's going to be defense. There are a lot of candidates in mind right now that could help us. The moves we made in free agency really helped us be flexible to where we don't have to necessarily pick a certain position at that spot. He did joke at the end of it, says, is 10 too early for a kicker? And then he said April Fool's. So there you go on that one. But listen, it's what I've been saying. And I don't say that to pat myself on the back or anything like that, but I say it because it's the sensible thing. This team put themselves in a position to be able to be flexible with what they do at number 10. They don't have to reach on a position. They don't have to necessarily try to trade up to get a position if they don't want to, unless they just identify a talent that they feel is can't miss. They don't have to do those things. They put themselves in a position of luxury, and that's not always something that we've seen the Bears be able to do. I'm just being honest here, right? The Bears have not always been in a position where they can do that. Now, Ryan Poles has tried to work that in with some of the moves he's made, even thinking outside the box, drafting positions at time, like when we thought we were going to go a different route, i.e., like wide receiver when we got Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker first, where everybody thought we were going to draft a wide receiver in that draft. But that's something that you earn by what you do and how you operate your team and your franchise. And that's what the Bears are doing here. They're running their team as an actual team that makes sense. Everything they're doing right now is sensible and you can look at it and say, at least at a baseline level, this makes sense. And so the Bears and the flexibility that they've worked themselves into, I'm glad that, a guy like Ben Johnson is saying, hey, we've put ourselves, it could be offense, it can be defense. We got a lot of guys. We think we're going to get a hell of a player there. Now, could some of this be posturing to set himself up for a deal? Yeah, absolutely. Make no mistake about that, right? But I think overall, there are a lot of things right now that the Bears can do. And I've been talking about this for weeks now. I can't wait to the draft because I'm ready to stop the speculation and just talk about what it can actually happen for the Bears here, because I love what the Bears are doing, man. When you really look at it, right? The possible places that the Bears can go: running back, left tackle, defensive line. I don't know, safety is up there, right? I think the closest you're probably getting to that is Will Johnson potentially, being rumored as a pick there for the Chicago Bears. Tight end is definitely one, right? It just seems to be that the Bears are in a position to watch and see how the draft is going to go, especially in that first round, and they're going to be able to kind of pick a varying approach depending on how the draft board changes, right? But one of the interesting candidates has come up recently for the Chicago Bears. Phil Yates of ESPN brought this up, and he brought up Emeka Egbuka from the wide receiver from Ohio State. Right now, we know that we did get Olamide here, right? And what that could bring for the Bears at that third wideout, right? But here's the thing: if you do want to go to another guy, Emeka makes some sense there for the Chicago Bears, right? Again, this is outside the box thing. And as I told you guys before, it really does seem like right now there's so many people that are trying to figure out what the Bears are doing. It leads to a lot of speculation. But they do say in this that the Bears have been quietly looking into wide receivers, right? We know that they have a top 30 visit schedule with Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver from Texas, who I think would be a great one, right? They've also showed interest in Xavier Restrepo from Miami. I know that's, not the one that everybody's talked about there. He's considered one of the best slot receivers in this draft class as well, right? And so it seems like the Bears are in a place where they are trying to set up as much as they can get right now, and it's smart because we already know Ryan Poles is already thinking ahead to Caleb Williams' possible extension and how that could impact the Chicago Bears. So they're looking at as many skill positions as possible, try to stack talent where they can and where it makes sense. And so because of that, we'll see what the Bears do here, man. But hearing that a wide receiver could be on the board for the Chicago Bears really isn't surprising. We just got to see how it's going to continue to go for the Bears, and we'll see there. But with that said, we do got a voicemail I want to get into. This guy's from one of my favorite people, K2 Clips.
Let's
go ahead and play
what
that
up,
now.
Hayes? Hey, man, so I was just something, man, and I thought I might call in. I normally call in on Friday and Saturday, man, but I was, I don't know, man. I'm feeling kind of antsy about it, bro. I just want to talk about it real quick, man. So check this out, bro. So I seen you made a video the other day about there being a heavy presence of Chicago Bears staff at the Ohio State Pro Day. Now, that's good. And I know we talk about Ohio State a lot with that Junkins kid, that running back, and the offensive tackle. I forgot his name. The guy who got hurt, Josh Simmons, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and that's great, man, because I feel like we're gonna add some talent no matter what we do. I feel like with the coaching staff that we have, bro, we gonna add some talent. But I honestly believe the real reason they went to that Ohio State Pro Day, and it was heavily scouted, especially by Dennis Allen, is I think they're going to get Jack Sawyer, bro. I know we don't talk about him a lot here, defensive end, bro. 6'4", 260. And if you just go look at the tape of that guy can ball, man. Like, he a champion. He can set the edge. He got moves. He puts pressure on the quarterback. He's nasty. He's a big guy. Like, him opposite of Montez Sweat, I believe, with Austin Booker, with that Daniels kid, with a little bit more depth. Like, this guy in a project, like, he basically, like, he's a day one starter. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not too sold on the fact that we just gonna go offense first round, because I still believe our defensive line is a little bit more important right now than our offensive line, because we still got 2 picks in the second round, and I believe we got a third pick in the third round. So it's like we're definitely gonna get some offensive linemen with those 3 picks, no doubt about it. But their first pick, I'm letting y'all know right now, like Chuck say, guaranteed that we get Jack Sawyer at number 10, defensive end from Ohio State. I could just be talking out my ass. But let me know what y'all think, man. I hope you're having a good day, bro, and I hope you have an even better weekend, man. As always, Chicago up and bear down.
All right, listen, I love what you laid out here, right? Jack Sawyer is a guy that that I like a lot, right? And I did talk about in that video as well. Like, there are a lot of people that the Bears being represented at OSU's Pro Day made so many sense from so many different positions, right? Running back, defensive end, defensive tackle, all those positions. It all made sense for the Bears, right? And so offensive tackle, I think, as well. So it really, the Bears have really laid it out to where they're taking in all the information. And this is something they've been really good about even before Ben Johnson, going out there and meeting with as many people as possible, looking outside the box, right? And I do think a guy like Josh Simmons and Sawyer that you mentioned there, either one of those guys, they could really be really underrated picks by the Chicago Bears, especially with Simmons. It just comes down to his health. If he's able to stay healthy, he could be a huge pickup for the Bears, right? And he's one of the true tackles in this draft. He just has the injury concerns. So we'll see what happens there. I think that if the Bears can add, whether it's in the trenches, right, where I think a lot of the OSU talent is coming from outside of the running backs, but if they can add those guys, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense, brother. So I'm not mad at it, man. But I think that right now, man, it's overall, I'm excited to see what the Bears can do, because basically anything that you bring up can make sense, right? So let's hope that they make us all proud is basically what I'm hoping there, man. And we'll see what happens. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.